we would now like to let the user select a material to be used. Let's click on material brand cell and let us choose data, data validation, data validation. This will have the user entering from amongst the available options. So let's choose something we're going to be using 99% of the time when considering data validation. Let's choose, instead of any value, so that the cell could contain any value, let's select a list of values. We'll go into other options just in a second, but now a list is available, and now let's write equals, and we want to now write this block which contains the material brands. We don't remember exactly how it was, so let us learn a new keystroke, which is F3. Remember, F4 gave us $signs, F9 gave us new random numbers, and now Control 1 also gave us control over how a cell looked like, and now F3. F3 gives us all the names, and our name is brand M, material brand, and as you see it wrote equals brand M. We're going to click on OK. And here it is. We can select now the material brands. It was actually important from data validation. It was important to say that equals, because if we don't write it, all it lets us select is the word itself, which basically means that we can go ahead and give the options into the cell, like for instance, man, semicolon, woman, and so forth. But in that case, it's not that good, because it's better to have all the data or all the stuff we can choose from amongst to sit in some kind of Excel table, so we can access it more easily. Not to write everything inside that data validation box. So we will be using equals brand M. Now let's do the same for paint brand. So we go to that cell, give data, data validation, and now instead of any value we're going to give list of values and write, we can write it ourselves, equals brand P, paint brand, or F3 can be used for that again as well. And let's click OK, and here it is. We can select from the paint brands. Now the next thing we want to do is, we are already tying together two tables. The table that contains information about our details cost, and the tables with paints and materials. And now comes a new material, a new topic to consider. Namely, we want to know automatically what is the price of our material 08. Now, for that there is a function that's called VLOOKUP, and we write. Actually, there is one name that we didn't give in this paints and materials table. We also have to name the entire table. So let's select the paints table. We gave the names from up to down. And now let's select the entire paints table. And let's write paints underscore table, enter. So this is necessary for the next step we're going to do. And now materials table, again without the headers, and it has the name materials table. Let's give it again, materials table. Okay. Let's go back to that details sheet, and now the function goes like that. For checking out the material 8's price, equals VLOOKUP parenthesis begin. And now what we want to do is we want to look up this MA08, so let's click on it. This is C14, is where we have the MA08, or whichever material you have chosen, and semicolon. Now we have to give the name of the table, which is materials underscore table. So as we see down here, it actually gives a hint to us. So yeah, we're on the right path. It has to be materials table. Now VLOOKUP is going to go and look it up, this MA08. Now semicolon, and we have to write which column to return from that materials table. Let me just quickly show you. Here it is, the materials table. It's gonna look it up, find the MA08, and the answer, the price per cubic meter, is in the second column. So let's go back, take this VLOOKUP and write semicolon 2. The answer is in the second column. And now we will have to write one more thing, which we will always be writing in the beginning. It's going to be semicolon 0. This means that VLOOKUP is going to be performing what's called a exact looking up. We will see what it is in a second. So always a 0 in the end. And here it is. MA08, when we look it up from materials table, MA08 has the price of 480. And here it is. We've looked it up. So once again, what we're looking for, MA08, the table where it is. Now, which column to give back, the prices were in the second, and then always a 0. Here it is, it's the correct price. There are some things we need to say now. At first, when we consider the materials table, we can see that the materials names will always have to be in the first column. So VLOOKUP always looks it from the first column, and then the answer is in some other column, in our case in the second column. So that's how VLOOKUP does it. Let's write another VLOOKUP. We need one for paints as well. So equals VLOOKUP, parenthesis begin, and we're looking up the paint SV06. So that's the thing. Semicolon. Now comes the table name. So we can, for instance, go to the other paints table even and select it like this. And here you see, up here it's written VLOOKUP C15 paints table. So it's on the paints table now. And the price is right now in the paints table, the price is on the third column, because in the second column there was the usage, how many liters went for 1 square meter of painting. So the price is in the third column, and again semicolon 0, and it's gonna take SV06, gonna go there, look it up, here it is, and give the third column back. 43 is the price, and it was correctly done. Now let's do it a few more times. So right now we have the amount of material used. That's really going to be straightforward. This V is volume, so we write just equals V, and it returns the volume. Now for paint it's not that easy. We're at first going to need to know how much paint will be used for 1 square meter, and then we're going to take 20 square meters and multiply these together. So, or let's take the 20 square meters at first. We write equals S, and we get the 20 square meters. As you see, they've been rounded here, so if we take these two and click on Control 1, we can see that these are numbers with 1 decimal place only. So if we had clicked on 2 decimal places, we would have had a more exact representation of the size. And now we're going to take this formula. We have 20 square meters, and for each square meter, let's look it up. SV06, we go here, SV06 is needed in the amount of 0.35 liters per square meter. So we want to do, to get the number of liters, we do 20 square meters times 0.35, and we get the number of liters, which is about 7 liters. Okay, so So let's try to do that formula now. We take the S, 20 square meters, and multiply with VLOOKUP. So let's write S times VLOOKUP, parentheses. So we're looking up C15, which is the paint SV06, from paints table, and we're getting the right answer from the second column, and as always a 0. So here it is. Here it is what it does. Takes SV06, goes to the paints table, finds the SV06, and gives the second column back, which is 0,35. And the answer is 7 liters, or about 7 liters. Now, last thing to talk. What is this 0 that we always put in the end of the formula? This 0 is has an alternative. Namely, if we're looking for something different than paint names, namely if we're looking at, let's say, test scores in a university, and we have a test score of 88, and now let's say we also have ranges for test scores 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and from that we have grades beginning with 50. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we want to look up the test score of 88, and the test score is not exactly in here. 88 isn't in here exactly. Then we're using something instead of 0. We're using number 1, and we're still able to look it up. It goes like this: 50 is not 88, 60 is not 88, 70 is not 88, 80 is not 88, 90 is past 88. And then Microsoft Excel will have a question whether it should look up and give you the previous one or the next one. We don't know which one to give, but in Microsoft Excel it's been decided that the previous one is the one to be returned. And then if we need the second column, we will correctly get the grade of 4 for the test score of 88. So 4 is the correct grade, so everything works out just fine. We just have to remember that it's the previous one that it gives back. But right now we're going to be, for a long time, we're going to be using that 0, and we'll get to the alternative later on. The only thing to say furthermore about VLOOKUP is that VLOOKUP kind of has a shortcoming. The fact that it always has to search from the first column and give some other column back is kind of a shortcoming. But that is also for further knowledge. And now let's calculate how much it all costs. So, for instance, the material cost is very simple. Price for 1 cubic meter times the amount in cubic meters. The paint cost is very simple, equals price for a paint times the amount, which in turn was square meters times the usage of a paint. That depended on viscosity. Okay, and we take the amount that depended on the viscosity and the square meters, and we multiply with the price. Now let's give ourselves a cushion for an error, 50%. We calculate that for additional costs, and now without that additional cost of 50%, we just write material and paint together. We add these two together, and now the total cost is going to be the 1,755 plus 50 more percent. So it goes like this, equals 1,755 times 1 plus 50%. Remember that 50% is 0,5, because taking 50% is as if we had multiplied it with 0,5. So we write 1 plus 50%, which is 1 plus 0,5, which is 1.1,5 and we multiply with 1,5, which is taking